Have you ever asked an AI assistant to do something online, like book a flight or find a comment, and then just watched it stumble around like it's never seen a website before? It's a super common thing. But what if we could teach these AIs to actually plan ahead? Well, let's dive into a new framework called ActionEngine that's trying to do exactly that.
Right. It all really boils down to this question, doesn't it? We have these unbelievably powerful AI models, but the second you ask them to navigate a web page, they feel slow, they make these silly mistakes, and they just get lost so easily. To figure out why, we've got to look at how they're designed to think. So broadly speaking, there are two camps for building an AI agent. Most of what we see today are reactive. They basically look at a screen, decide on one single thing to do it, and then start that whole process all over again. But there's this new approach, the programmatic way, which is all about making a complete end-to-end plan before it even clicks once. And that difference right there is the key to everything.
Okay, so let's really dig into the problem with that reactive, step-by-step approach first. Why does it cause our AI assistants to get so incredibly lost all the time? The best analogy for a reactive agent is to picture this. A tourist dropped into a brand new city, but they have no map, no phone, no GPS. To get anywhere, they literally have to stop on every single street corner, look all around them, and ask a stranger for directions to the very next corner. You can see how that's just not an efficient way to get across town.
And that is pretty much exactly what that AI tourist is doing online. At every single step, it takes a screenshot of the page, sends that image to a massive, super expensive AI model, one of those big multimodal large language models, and asks, okay, what is the one thing I should do right now? The model thinks for a bit, sends back an answer like click the blue button, the agent does that one thing, and then that whole slow, expensive loop starts right back up. For a task with 20 steps, that's 20 separate pricey calls to the AI brain.
So, yeah, this method has some major downsides. It's crazy expensive, as we just talked about. It's also super fragile. If the AI misinterprets just one little icon, something they call a visual hallucination, the whole task can just fall apart. And maybe worst of all, it has zero long-term memory. It learns absolutely nothing about how the website is laid out, so the next time it visits, it's a brand new tourist all over again. And the bottom line, all of this leads to a success rate of only about 58% on tough challenges. That's not great. Barely better than a coin flip.
So, if the big problem is a tourist wandering around lost without a map, the solution seems kind of obvious, doesn't it? Let's give the AI a map before it even starts its journey. And that is the whole philosophy behind ActionEngine.
Now, I love this quote from the researchers themselves. Amortized pre-processing efforts. That's just a really smart academic way of saying, let's do the hard work up front. Instead of trying to figure out the website on the fly in the middle of a task, let's explore it and understand it ahead of time.
And this is what they call the programmatic paradigm. First, the AI goes and systematically explores an app or a website to build that internal model of how it all connects. That's the map. Then, when you give it a task, it just looks at its map, writes a perfect little computer program to get the job done, and runs it flawlessly in one single go. No more asking for directions.
Now, to pull all this off, ActionEngine doesn't use just one AI agent. Nope, it uses a specialized two-agent team. You can think of them as the explorer, who's in charge of drawing the map, and the planner, who actually uses that map to figure out the best route.
Here's how this little duo works. You've got the crawling agent. That's our explorer. It works completely offline, in the background, just methodically clicking through every single part of an app to build that super detailed map. Then, when you come along with a request, the execution agent, our planner, wakes up. It takes one look at the map and instantly generates and runs the perfect code to get your task done. It's a really brilliant division of labor.
Okay, so we keep talking about this map. What does it actually look like? Well, it's not a picture you can look at. It's a highly structured data model, and it's called a state machine graph. This is the secret weapon that makes the whole system tick. A state machine graph is actually a pretty simple idea when you break it down. Just imagine a map where every location is a different page on a website, like the home page or the search results page. The roads that connect all these locations are just the actions you can take, like click the search button or scroll down. And right about now, you're probably asking the same million-dollar question I was. How on earth can you make a stable map of a site like Reddit or Amazon, where the content is literally changing every single second? Wouldn't your map have to be infinitely huge and always out of date? This is a huge problem in the field called state explosion. And this is the genius solution. Take a look at these two pages from Reddit.
On the left, you've got the Wall Street Bets forum. On the right, Ask Reddit. The posts, the votes, all the content, it's totally different. But look closer. The underlying structure, the template of the page is exactly the same. ActionEngine is smart enough to see that. It doesn't map the changing content, it maps the stable template. And that's the trick to keeping the map small, manageable, and useful.
So let's get to the payoff. What happens when you give an AI a map and a plan? Well, it turns out you're not just a little more reliable. You become smarter, faster, and a whole lot cheaper. All right, first up, the success rate. Remember that dismal 58% for the old reactive agents? Well, by planning ahead, ActionEngine hits a 95% success rate on the exact same complex Reddit tasks. That's the difference between a tool that's kind of neat and one you can actually depend on every day.
Next, let's talk about cost, and this is just wild, because ActionEngine swaps out dozens of those expensive real-time AI calls for just a single planning call. It slashes the cost by a factor of almost 12. That means running these agents just became way, way more practical.
And finally, speed. Once that plan is made, just executing a simple program is so much quicker than stopping to think every 2 seconds. All in all, the task gets done twice as fast as the old reactive way.
You know, the researchers themselves really nailed the summary here. ActionEngine finds that perfect sweet spot. It's not like an old, rigid automation script that breaks the second a button moves, but it's also not one of those slow, expensive, and unreliable visual agents we have today. It really is the best of both worlds.
So this leaves us with a really fascinating thought to chew on. This research just focused on a couple of websites, but imagine scaling this approach up. What becomes possible when our AI assistants have a pre-built, reliable map for every single app and website we use? It could be the leap that finally makes them feel less like clumsy tourists and more like capable, intelligent partners for navigating our digital world.